So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to my Caribbean community across the world, wherever you may be. I wish you peace, love, and blessings. Um, can you just let me know if you can hear? I see we've got two viewers at present. Can any one of you drop a comment and let me know if you can hear me? Yes, I see it says you can't connect via Facebook, but I believe we resolved that issue. No, I'll probably not go live. Okay, so the issue should be resolved on Facebook now. It's been given a bit of difficulty, but anyhow, you can connect on Instagram or on. Thank you. That's my shit. Loud and clear, much appreciated. Um, so yes, I would advise you go to YouTube or Instagram. The link is on Facebook for those platforms. I'm gonna go straight into our show for the day. It's our first show, so I'm not sure there will be a lot of people joining us just yet, but we do hope that the viewers increase as time goes along. So I'm really excited to be here, and I'm even more excited to get to know you and to get to know the needs of our community. Um, I well, firstly, I'm going to apologize because I'm reading from script today because there are a few disclaimers, important disclaimers that I need to share with you, and once I have, yeah, for the coming shows, we should be a bit more freelance and a bit more interactive. So I'm just going to go straight to our first disclaimer, and that is just to let you know that this show is a platform for the African and Caribbean community worldwide. Its aim is to unite our people. It is to provide a space where we can talk about our histories, how they affect us today. It is to create change for ourselves and for the generations to come. Having said that, it is an open show and it welcomes all nations, experiences, points of views, and as long as all contributions are in line with our mission, we understand that all lives matter, and we are focused on building the fractured lifestyles, cultures, homes, black well-being, black excellence, and systems, so we can be on an equal footing with other nations. We believe in live and let live, and we intend to be about it and do it for ourselves. Um, so to finalize our first disclaimer, we say welcome to all nations, greetings and welcome to all nations. We understand that our presence has been a great part of your lives and histories. So we welcome your contributions, and as I said before, as long as it's in line with our objectives. We understand also that we are disliked or misunderstood by many, and we hope we can enlighten you, learn your issues, and hopefully this can provide you with knowledge that, well, with knowledge that we hope but do not expect will create understanding and change. So that's our first disclaimer. Our second disclaimer is about Black history. While we understand that slavery is a massive part of our transition, a massive part of our being, it is not this show does not speak about that. It's not to talk about history. And while we will be mentioning slavery, sorry, not history, slavery, and while we will be mentioning slavery and discussing it from time to time, our focus is on the future. We believe that spending time focusing on the past will prevent us from achieving our mission of creating change in the future. We believe that this is a pivotal time for us to make a difference in the Black community. Willie Lynch hypothesized that the effects of slavery will last for 300 years, and right about now, I say he is correct. I say that it's about time we stop this now. We don't need to wait 300 years. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's come together and try to make a difference. And this is what we really want to bring forth in our show. Having said that, we want to let you know that Black history is so important. It is so important for us to independently research and have knowledge of our transitions, why we are here, and to pass it down to our generations, because our history has been watered down. The younger generation, the new generations have no idea where they come from, what it took for us to be here today, and it is leading to a set of unbalanced youth within our communities. Yes. If you are parents to Black children, we would recommend that you follow groups like the Black Child Agenda, who are very strong in the Black community and supporting our Black children and the struggles that they go through. And this is not a paid ad, this is not anything, it's just a group that I've been following, and I think that they're quite good. Also, there's the in fact, what I'll do is I'll put, when I'm sharing this video, I will put them in the comments, some places for you to research Black history and gain the knowledge if you don't have it. Also, anything I say on this show should be researched independently and as a healthy medium. Okay. Our third disclaimer is that I have multifocal tics. It's very similar to Tourette's, and every now and again I may have a spasm and shout. Usually I shout no, very rarely it's an obscenity. I can have a spasm and move just straight forward. It can be a little disrupting at times, and if you want to help me along with those twitches, so to speak, you could just shout, oi, oi, say hello, greet Susie. I'm responsible for nothing she says or does. And yes, I've named her Susie, just because it helps with ease of transition and explaining and dealing with the actual tic. Okay, so we have tics. You may hear me say Susie, but yes. Moving on to our final disclaimer is that I must let you know I am not a legal or historical expert or professional. However, I am experienced in the Black experience, teaching special needs and application of law, and in assisting litigants in person with their civil matters, which is something that we intend to do throughout the show, to provide assistance or knowledge in accessing legal protocols so that you can deal with situations yourself. There are a lot of struggles we go through in the health system, work system. So I'm hoping that legal system, I'm hoping that we can ease some of those struggles and help some people along by directing them and guiding them on how to deal with things for themselves. So that's the disclaimers done with. During today's show, we will be discussing the importance of fitting into socially recognizable formats for change, and that will become a bit clearer later on in the show. We are also going to be discussing petition and how petitions create change, or what we need and our goals. I can just say right now that we're trying to get a goal of 10,000 and 100,000 to assist with our needs to make change. I will probably show you a diagram or put a link in the video, the posted video of the petition, so you can see for yourself. But at present, in order for a petition to be successful, you need to have the first 10,000 signatures to get a greeting, a welcome, to be heard, to be acknowledged from the Houses of Parliament. In order for your concern or your wish for change to be made, to be heard in Parliament, to be argumented, to be given the reasons back and forth as to why it is such an important law to make, you need to have 100,000 signatures. That is a major amount of signatures. So our major goal here, one of our major goals, is to gain a platform of 100,000 followers so that we can make movements with regards to making change within Parliament and being heard and have our cases fought. I was going to mention this later on in the show, but whilst we're on the topic, I might as well just let you know that a lot of people speak about how the gay rights have actually achieved such great motion and laws and power behind them that they're able to even access the school systems. First and foremost, I'm against nobody. I believe in let live, and if you choose to have, this is your lifestyle, then yes, you should be entitled to teach whatever your lifestyle is to your children, and as should every other community. I don't believe in discrimination. I don't believe that anyone has the right to judge another person's opinion, another person's choice. But I believe that a lane should still be made for those that have different beliefs. So there are a few other petitions in the future that I would like to bring forward. My reason for mentioning this is because the gay rights movement, what they done was they campaigned, they did the protesting, they did all of this, which is very beneficial and was pivotal to their achievements with regards to gaining success with the laws that they wished to be honoured or created for their community. The reason they were able to do that is because not only did they challenge it through petitioning and not so much writing, but displays of whatnot and complaining. They went through the legal route. They sought change by petitioning and going to governments and to requesting that there's a reform. So much so that these requests became part and parcel of the legal system. And as a result, we all have to abide by those rules. Well, I'm here to tell you today that this can happen for anyone, for any movement, for any community, as long as you go through the appropriate system. And that's what I was going to speak about earlier, about the importance of socially recognizable formats for change. I'm going to give you a personal example of this. And again, I'm giving it to you a bit sooner in the show because it's just come this way. But the personal example is I currently have a petition out seeking for better NHS treatment for individuals that receive injury from healthcare. And this petition is successful, it's live, it's going through, but it's not got that many signatures, which was the inspiration for this show. In the hope that we could build more. If there was 100,000 followers right now, this petition will be sitting on Parliament waiting to be heard. And that would be a massive step forward for us. So, yeah. So in any case, back to the point at hand, is that, so that petition was accepted, but prior to that petition, I did another petition, which was also about healthcare needs and better healthcare treatment, but it mentioned for minorities, because as we're likely to receive poorer outcomes with regards to health. It also stated that that it will be beneficial in the sense that not only will we get compensation, that we could compensate and deal with our health needs elsewhere, it would also mean that we could, there would be a reform, a slight change, a shift in the way that we are treated in NHS institutions or in healthcare institutions, so to speak. I say if the if healthcare providers are receiving more claims and paying out more monies towards people for negligence or for injury, then it is likely that they're likely to review the way they deal with minorities, and hence by affecting their pocket, we get better treatment. That was the logic behind it, other than to get compensation for injury received. Now, this was beneficial to everybody, most definitely. It never excluded the entire community, but it put an emphasis on Black and minority cultures. This was rejected, and they said it was rejected because it highlighted one group, it left out one group, other than it was libelous because I attached my claim to it, but let's not worry about that. But the point at hand was that it wasn't accepted based on the fact that it was not, it was said not to be inclusive. So my point in telling you this today is to let you know that we are able to do anything and create any change. So like I said, I do have the petition live now. However, it's worded in a different way. It's completely to include the whole of the all communities. It doesn't highlight anything about minorities. And when I thought about it, that's actually okay, because the intention was never to rule out any community from the petition. It was to enhance. It was to enhance the process that we go through for clinical negligence claims and to all the struggles we go through. It's unnecessary. If wrong has been done, we should just be compensated. That was the ultimate point. So I'm still happy that this claim has come live, but it has taught me a lesson. Even today, I learn lessons every day. I'm very open to learning. And it's literally, yeah, we could do what we have to do. We just have to do it in a socially acceptable format. And I believe through this, we will receive change. Drop any comments and let us know where you're listening to us from. You're probably going to be hearing the recorded version of this. And if that's the case, please still in the comments, let us know where you're calling from. And if you have any opinions, please share them, and we will still respond to them as time goes on. So I believe I got to my finish the disclosures, and I ended up just talking about the titles and what I needed to earlier. So I'm going to briefly move on. I just wanted to discuss, like I said, slavery and the Windrush generation, very closely interrelated. And I wanted to explain why they slightly differ, the slavery and Windrush. So we have the Windrush were a set of people who were born in a land that were not their own. They had no culture. So they were removed from their culture, their homeland, and placed in another land to develop, well, to be slaves, and forced to develop their own culture. No real history, no real generational wealth or support or anything of that nature. And technically, they were people in desperation of a better life, people in desperation of wanting to know, wanting to belong, of needing a culture. So I say it seems evident that when the Windrush generation came here, it was nothing more than exploitation. They were exploited. The very people who enslaved them and freed them from slaves and continued making money from them as after losing their slave ownerships, were the very same people to bring them over to the UK. So they were very aware when they bought them, when the Windrush generation came here, that they were a desperate, lost set of people that would have jumped at the opportunity to have a better life, as would have been painted out to them. And I just wanted to take this moment to show a brief video. Well, to briefly, you would have seen our videos of Black Talk Show, showing what we're talking about, advertising us. And I just wanted to briefly explain why we had that, why we've got that, and it should also support what I'm trying to say here. Let me know if you could still hear me. Thank you, That's My S, for being so interactive. I appreciate all your feedback. Yes, there definitely is power in numbers. And thank you for the shout out to Susie. Much appreciated. Hi, Vilma. Welcome to our show. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be more than patient. Just very grateful to have you here. Thank you. How are you doing today? Okay, so our video. Can you see the video? Well, I believe you can see the video. So this here is our video that we were using to advertise, and it just gives a brief rundown of history to where we are today. And I just want to tell you my story behind it. So first and foremost, it was India in World War One and World War Two. Caribbeans and Indians were called to the UK to fight the war because there wasn't enough people to fight for the UK. So here is these ones. This is why we have the black soldiers in and Asian soldiers in World War One. And here we go again. World War One, World War Two. This is the transition of black people, the black African community, from slavery to date. And this is the Windrush. This is the Windrush ship. Oh, accidentally, sorry. Okay. So this ship was Empire Windrush. Cheek of it says it in itself. Empire Windrush highlights the complete and utter exploitation of a nation. Every person coming on these boats and coming under this title, under this heading, and in that time of year, they were here, they were exploited, and they were brought here because they never had the opportunity to work here and build a better life. Would have been accepted through desperation. Okay, it was very well known that St. Lucia, Jamaica, all the Caribbean were enslaved and left to do their own thing once they were freed. Okay, so that's the Windrush boat. Then we have the Windrush generation come here, believing they're going to get a whole load of work, leaving their families behind, lots of fractured families because of that. They've left their families behind to come to the UK and work because they've been invited, only to find that when they get here, they're treated completely indifferently. So they're not accepted within the communities. They are ostracized for being black. Let me go forward a little bit. I slowed it down. I think I slowed it down way too much. Then you've got, this is a demonstration. I think we missed a few clips, but they were also just highlighting the discrimination faced and portraying the people that came over during that time. So this clip here is a protest. It's a protest because there was a fire literally a few months before I was born in 1981 in New Cross, and it was said to be a police cover-up where the police killed several people. There's never been a bottom line to this story, but this is how that generation dealt with it. They fought for some type of justice. Not sure that, well, they clearly didn't get any, but their efforts were deeply recognized. Or the petition, the protest again. And this is just a few of my thoughts that I stumbled across this this quote. Well, my mum stumbled across this quote and forwarded it to me, and I thought it was everything considering what we're trying to achieve right now. And it's not everything that is faced can be changed, but the first step, sorry. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced. In essence, we understand the transitions and the troubles that we've been through. It has happened, and also for us to move forward, we must take a first step in another direction. And yes, I appreciate there's been a whole movement. Yes, I appreciate there's been a whole movement of the whole natural hair and the whole imagery, and I think that's fantastic. That's absolutely beautiful, and it's worked wonders for the model industry and for the fashion industry, so to speak. But how much change is it really creating? Your hair, your dress, and speaking out and being loud and proud for so many years has not made any change to the treatments we actually receive in society, to the derogatory comments we receive, to the healthcare we receive, to the education we receive. It has not made any difference. So now, like I said, we need to challenge this in the way that is socially acceptable for change within the UK. Yes, we are hoping to branch out to other countries, and we hope that this could be a worldwide movement, but we do need to start at home. I'm only in the power to start at home, and I will be communicating and liaising with other countries to get this movement going, but at present, we are starting in the UK. So the next clip was, to bring change, you must not be afraid to take the first step. You will fail when we fail to try. In fact, you've only failed when you stop trying. I hope that this is something that will be pushed forward for the future, something for the long term. And it's really dependent on your feedback, your comments, and how you actually interact with our show. No man is an island. No man can stand alone. This cannot be achieved alone. I'm here to seek 100,000 followers, 100,000 supporters that will enable us to get our movements, to get our voices heard within Parliament. And the final part of our video that I really wanted to discuss, well, it's got Rosa Parks. And if you don't know who Rosa Parks is, please do your research. Rosa Parks, every black and African member of the community should know who Rosa Parks is. Very pivotal woman in our history, along with Harriet Tubman and so many others of us, of our ancestors. And finally, the last quote is, "We can make it happen for ourselves, let's be about it." And that's by yours truly, Louise Emanuel. And the idea for that, behind that, speaks for itself. So far, we've not been entirely successful by working under other systems. So I say now we need to work out how we're going to create our own systems. I do call upon all those academics, all of you who have positions in society, all of you who have contributions to offer to this platform, to get in touch, get involved, and help us be about it. Yep. So I'm going to take a short break, and when we come back, I'm going to discuss how did we get here? What is the motivation behind Black Table Talk Show? What is to be expected of the up-and-coming shows? And how have we been about it leading up to the show? So we'll catch you in approximately 3 minutes. And yes. Let me see if I can get you guys back first. Perfect. welcome back. So there was a comment or two that I wanted to respond to. Yes, that's my S. I completely agree with you. Military. Okay. So moving forward, we were going to discuss how did we get here? What is the motivation for Black Table Talk Show, and what is to come? Today, and okay, so the motivation for this talk show was due to personal experience. In 2016, I had a miscarriage. Where many women have miscarriages. I didn't think nothing of it, despite this being my 5th pregnancy. I had 6 previous pregnancies prior to that. One of which is successful is my son, who's now 19. I was receiving treatment when I had my son, which I believe is what allowed him to be here today. In any case, I had one pregnancy which I was not able to continue due to health before him, and 4 after him, which I was also not able to continue due to poor health. In 2016, as I said, I had a miscarriage, and then it can happen to many women, you pass it off. It was an 11 weeks miscarriage. In 2017, I also had a miscarriage. This time it was for twins, and it was 1 week short of it was 1 week short of viability. Yeah. I went to several lawyers, and on the day that I was losing the twins, the doctor then asked me about my lupus. Yes, I had been diagnosed when I was 16 in St. Lucia. I had also been re-diagnosed in 2001, and when I was having my son, and treated when I had my son in 2003 in South London. And then I moved to East London in 2011, and I was told I never had no conditions. There was no such history. I later found out that was also disputed from South London. Nonetheless, I was going through a terrible time, and no lawyer wouldn't help me. It was just said that you have no case, you have no claim. I later after that found out that my GP hadn't had my medical records, and I decided to access all my medical records, and I went on a bit of a rampage. I accessed all my medical records and started building up a history of what was going on. And again, I sent it to solicitors firms, lawyers, asking them to look into it. This is negligence, and realizing that I needed a different treatment. One of the final straws was when my GP at the time called me, advising that she wanted to come and do a mental health visit. This was a major red flag. I had been sick for the last several years, since 2014 when I joined the surgery, and on several incidences I had depression and loads of issues, poor mobility, not being able to move about, Susie's as we speak about, and several other illnesses and ailments and symptoms, let's say. So I left that GP, I went to another GP, and obviously medical records are brought across to from one service to another. So you find, or I found, that I was getting the same poor treatment as from the other one, and they were all saying that I had mental health issues, to which I actually started to believe that I was just mentally ill. But in reading my records, there was always that uncertainty of why things were labelled as they were. Things were missing out. My records had been adapted, and yeah. So I again went to solicitors, and they refused. Now, I had a friend that was working immigration, and he's working at a law firm, and every time he'd visit me, I'd be on his case, please help me, I need to do this, how do I get this done? I had no concept of the law, no concept of how to do anything. And he offered me a placement, 2 weeks placement in a law firm, a solicitor's firm. And I jumped at the opportunity. Well, this is for my next section. So let's just say I got offered the volunteering position and I jumped at it. I decided I was going to be about it. I gave up my company, which was on the verge of being quite successful, getting work from social services, getting good clients. It was called Lou Industries for special needs. I gave up the company, I gave up everything, and I threw myself into this volunteer work and the mission that I was going to do research and learn how to do this for myself, because clearly no one was going to do it for me. That's also the ethos of this show. And so no one was going to do it for me. So now I get to how have I been about it? You know, it's our title, and everywhere we've got be about it, let's be about it. How have I been about it? So, from giving up my company to work at the law firm, I worked there for 2 years, 8 months. I learned protocols, and after 4 weeks of being there, I stayed on longer. After between 3 or 4 weeks of being there, the owner of the company offered me a position within housing. Obviously, I've been homeless in the past. This is very similar. This is very significant or normal for people of the Windrush, for descendants of the Windrush generation, to go through this transition of homelessness due to our lack of generational wealth. So yes, I was through that process, and I had great knowledge of getting through housing, and I used that. I then was able to run that very department there. I did that for 2 years and 8 months, and I was quite successful at it. While I was there, I had the whole intention was to actually bring a claim towards NHS for the disruption they caused within my life. So I still wasn't too sure of how to run the protocol, because I'm doing housing, and housing and clinical negligence are completely different protocols. So I had an incident where my pharmacy gave me the wrong medication. And while I was at the legal firm, the solicitor's firm, I placed a clinical negligence claim in. And the legal firm wasn't one where they held your hands in anything, throw you in the deep end, you sink or you swim. If you sink, they get rid of you. If you sink, hey ho, you're there for the duration, or until you decide you really it's time for you to move on. So I was successful at the housing for past that already, sorry, and I issued a claim to the pharmacy. That was successful, but it had its pitfalls. It was very rocky. They asked a lot of questions, but they settled immediately through the legal firm for far less than what it should have. But as it was a trial run for me, a time for me to experiment and learn about the protocol for me to get results, I settled, and I took great pleasure in on the final settlement using my own email and receiving an email from the insurance company saying, "Greetings, Louise Emmanuel," was very satisfactory to me. It was a milestone, definitely a milestone. It's one I'll remember, it's one I take great pleasure in, because that was my first success in clinical negligence and what was my mission to get justice for the injustices I had faced. So I continued working at the law firm, and it was an experience and a half. I wouldn't take it away for anything. However, the time came for me to move on. Limitation is every case. If it's a civil matter, you have 6 years before you can bring it to court. If it's a clinical negligence matter, you have 3 years before you can bring it to court. Statutory duty, 6 years. So it's, I would say limitation, it means the amount of time you have before you could bring forth a claim, or before your right to bring a claim to court expires. once you've reached limitation, unless you have really extremely exceptional circumstances like being locked up in a mental institution or having such great mental health issues or being underage at the time of the incident occurring, it's very unlikely that your case will get heard or you have any form of justice. So, or recompense. So as I was saying, I left because my time was drawing to an end. I was really drawn out with the work, and couldn't focus on my ultimate goal while being at the firm. So I left, and I knew very well that I had several claims. I had about 3 claims, but I could not risk putting all of them into one basket. So I dealt with just one, the smaller side of it all, and that was the basic negligences or inconsistencies that occurred during the twin pregnancy. And I used that as a way to, again, further get my feel of the clinical negligence protocol. And that was a successful claim. It was not the success that I would have hoped for, as in with clinical negligence, you need to have an expert. You need to have an expert to prove and say that this is what happened, this is what occurred. And without that, you're very much at a very loss. Now, if no solicitors are taking on your case, that means you're going to have to pay thousands for an expert. So it's very unlikely you're going to be able to do this. And if you're from a disadvantaged upbringing or disposition, then you're not going to be able to pay for an expert. So this is where they win in clinical negligence cases. Because it takes a lot to actually I see some comments. Hi, Josie Manuel, thank you for joining us. That's Mum. Hello, Mum. I'm going to get to your comments shortly. Thank you for joining. So we've been about it. Sorry, I've just literally lost my train of thought. But yeah, so that's where they win clinical negligence cases, by the fact that people can't afford to pay, so they can't progress their claim. In any case, I received settlement. I went for a settlement because I knew I was at a disadvantage with regards to the issues of not having an expert and not being able to afford an expert. And I got a settlement. It was under, but again, it was another milestone, another achievement, you know, something in my back pocket in clinical negligence. Yes, housing, I'm great, fine, but clinical negligence, that is unheard of territory. Solicitors run away from it, and I needed to run to it because I needed answers. In any case, I settled that case, but I wasn't too happy. And I wasn't too happy to progress the other 2 cases I had on the back burner. But what happened that year was more and more issues started happening. So I would receive, all of a sudden, now I'm receiving treatment, like a letter saying I do have a connective tissue disease, and I'm receiving treatment for it now. Treatment I wasn't receiving before, which would have been, okay, if you treated before it, just like with my son, then I may have had my children. That happened, and then I noticed no one was able to give me my records. No one could give me a copy of my recent records over the last 5 years. And this is 2022, 2021 I'm speaking about. What again happened, I then needed surgery. No, I needed surgery. I had sleep apnea. Nobody did anything about it. That was absolutely fine. But then I decided to, when all these other issues were happening, I lodged my claim with the NHS. Then all of a sudden, I got a call asking for, advised me that I had to come for surgery, and the surgery could cause all sorts of outcomes, blindness, it could cause all sorts of unfavorable outcomes that nobody's just going to sign and run to, considering you just issued a claim, and nobody, by the way, they weren't responding to the claim. So that in itself was an injustice again, and I just figured, enough is enough. Let's go full blast. So I brought the claim against every single NHS institution and that had treated me wrongly. I issued that claim in February 2022, and I never got a response. I haven't had a response from that claim, to be quite honest with you. I haven't had a response from any of them. I then served it in court. The court have issued the claim and have served it, and I've not received no responses. But I completely understand how could you possibly answer the nature of our responses. And again, I feel the show was born of the ignoration I was facing from the NHS. So in some sense, I'm grateful for that. This is the reason why we have the current petition of getting redress for injuries faced. Yeah, but most importantly, what I've learned in this process and what has made the NHS keep silent is because I was able to research and take us out of this bracket of clinical negligence where you have to prove on the balance of probabilities and you have to have an expert in your favor, which no other expert would agree with. I stumbled across statutory duty, which is the savior. Statutory duty is an everyday occurrence, but if you don't know about it and you don't know how to deal with it or to challenge it, we're having... Okay, so I can see we've been disconnected from Insta. I think this is because we've gone over the hour limit, but I don't believe anyone's following from Insta at the moment, so I'm going to move forward, and I will obviously post these links on all of my channels later on. Yes, so yes, statutory duty. With statutory duty, this falls in line almost under contract law, but you could combine it with clinical negligence to get a result. And I believe this is the result, this is the point where I am able to see a difference in the way that my claim is turning. I'm not concerned about them not answering with regards to the justice system, because I'm hoping that the courts do what's necessary, what they need to do, and follow procedure and help us get through. But just to highlight the fact that this is how I have been about it to date, and how we've got to the point of having this company. Yes, I believe I've already covered the importance of issues, but I'll just briefly run over that again. Sorry, the importance of petitions, but I'll briefly run over that again. And what I was said during the earlier part of this show was that petitions are important. Petitions are the way in which the UK creates laws, or the public are able to create laws within the UK legal system. And it's important that we learn to tailor our wants and needs, cultural wants and needs. It's important that we tailor our cultural wants and needs to a format that can be accepted by Parliament. Earlier in the show, I advised that I had sent 2 petitions, or the petition that I advised was already out. And one of them was rejected purely because of the extra minority talk, and it seems like it excluded a whole community, which it didn't, or it wasn't intended. Potentially, if it was, or if it can be seen that way. However, the second one that didn't mention minorities was accepted. Like I said, the idea of this show is to get to 100,000 followers, and the reason for that is because once we're at that level, we can make real change. We can make change. We can say what change we want, and we could be heard in Parliament. We can fight for what we want. Let's stop the... No, let's continue the protesting. Let's continue the fight that we're doing. Everything, all the movements that's going on are absolutely fantastic. But can we bring them together? Can we bring them together? Can we join our numbers? And can we create change through Parliament as well as through petitioning? This is the format that the gay community have used, that people often ridicule. I more than congratulate the gay community for their achievement, because they took the initiative to fight for what they want, to go for what they want, and to get what they want ingrained in the educational system, in the healthcare system, in every single fibre of UK being, they've had it ingrained into. And they've fought hard to get there, you know? And if you want the same for your culture, if I want the same for my culture and for my beliefs and my values, then we have one thing but to do. We do the same. We gather together, we create laws, we create platforms and opportunities. We do it for ourselves. It is completely achievable. The UK system relies on laws and petitions to be made so that they're aware of where they are currently in society, what the society is asking of them. This is our society. Law is for everybody, not just for lawyers or solicitors. That's another learning, and I love to share that with this platform. Later on, we'll be creating a platform where you can go and get your own, where you could go on our websites and get information on how to deal with a civil protocol. I believe I mentioned that in the beginning of the show as well. So I intentionally, at this point, I'm supposed to move on to my story, but I've actually told you my story throughout the contents of the show. It's all happened not the way I scripted it, which is really good. Thank you for your patience. So at this point, I just wanted to say, if you have a story you'd like to share, or if you think you could contribute to our show in any way, shape, or form, please contact us. Please send us at mystory@blacktabletalk.co.uk if you've got any topics you'd like us to discuss, if you'd like to attend the show, be part of the show, or yeah, please let us know. Please send us your messages, leave your comments, we will respond. Let me just refer to some questions here. I want to thank you, That's My S, Vilma T, and to yes, Jose Manuel, Britain has forgotten how they became great. And we have become outcast. History is repeating again. Yes, this is an amazing fact as well. I heard this on the news the other day, and I thought this was incredible, that they're actually going to do the same thing again, despite the whole Windrush scandal, the whole issues that's still going on in that being resolved, and nobody receiving compensation, well, very few receiving compensation, people still being deported, and they're actually at this present moment now going to seek for people from the Caribbean again, the holy grail for whenever England needs rescuing from its dirty work. That's, you know, and hey ho, I believe today this could be I still think it's a good move for our people, because we can get them here. However, I just hope this time that they're doing it appropriately. This time they get the rights to stay. This time there's no prejudices around them when they get here, and that they're respected for the jobs that they're actually doing. I hope several of my people get to come here from worldwide, from wherever they are. Like I said, I just hope that they're treated fairly. They may call them the COVID generation. Yeah, they may very well call them another generation. It sounds like you've had a rough time, Louise. I believe, yes, I have had a bit of a rough time, but I believe God never gives us more than we can bear. And so I hope and I pray that this is the path that I'm supposed to take, because all it has done, everything that I've faced through, has just led me to where I am today. Before you, asking for your help, asking for you to share our platform, for us to get what we want as a community. I acknowledge that what I went through is not just particular to me, it's not just me, it's to do with all minorities and UK citizens too. But my focus, and I hope that I do hope that everything that we achieve within this community can benefit everybody outwardly, all communities, all nations within the UK. And However, I am focusing on our stories, our missions, because it's coming from a real detrimental place that has not been discussed. It's not discussed in schools. Our children don't know about it. So we have a lot of plans throughout the show, and such as we've got a few more petitions we want to have in place for schooling. We would like to see. Well, we won't mention that just yet, but we'll get to that when the time comes. But we do have petitions in place for the educational system that we'd like to release. And we have a few other petitions in place. If you have anything that you believe will be useful to the Black community and think it could be changed, send us your ideas. And if you'd like to contribute in any way, please send us your ideas. Tala, aka also known as Tala. That's my S. What's also known as Tala? Tala. Okay. So, yes, Vilma T, thank you very much for your congratulations. Much appreciated. I appreciate those of you who have joined us today, and I really look forward to liaising with you all again soon. Have a good night. Stay blessed, stay safe, stay healthy, and don't forget to forward us your ideas, like, share, and subscribe. Have a pleasant evening. Goodbye.